Good evening, everyone. This is your guy Flav Niger of the Niger Room. I wanted to come on and discuss for a moment, my pretty much my codified um, analysis of the shooting of Jayland Walker of Akron, Ohio. He was recently, the story recently came out that he was a young 25-year-old male, black male, who got into an altercation with police. Well, I shouldn't say the altercation. Came in contact with police after a traffic stop, and chaos ensued. Let me pull up what I had here. So, when I say codified response, what I mean by that is I practice, I attempt to practice what is known as the compensatory code concept, and that's a concept that was developed by Mr. Neely Fuller, where we utilize in this particular society in which we live, we utilize a code. When dealing with a specific group of individuals, a specific power structure known as the system of white supremacy, which is ruled and controlled and dominated by those who are formerly known as white supremacists. Now, using the codified method by using the compensatory code concept. It enables a victim of white supremacy, which is generally those people who are considered black or people of color. Whether you acknowledge your victimization or not, the compensatory code concept is the means in which we are able to take certain situations that happen underneath this system of white supremacy and analyze them in a means in which they make more logical sense, and whereas we don't have to react so emotionally when things happen, and because generally when we are in a confused state, we are more prone to do things at the whim of emotion, and those things that are done with emotion are generally done in a reactionary fashion. So Jayland Walker, and I'm pulling up the story I found from People magazine. I guess this is from July the 4th. This is actually from today. Jayland Walker shot at least 60 times in body cam footage released by Akron police. Now I myself, this is just something that I've never watched George Floyd get, his situation. I didn't watch. I had basically what I'm saying is that I think it was you got my guy down in rest in peace down in Louisiana. I think his name was Alton Sterling, the guy that was shot because he was accused of selling CDs or something like that in front of a store or whatever. I saw when the police shot him, and I made up my mind. I don't want to see. If I can avoid seeing that, I'm gonna avoid seeing it, because that being a black male, that should trigger. Well, I mean, I can't say what it should do for nobody else, but I know what it does for me. It triggers me in a certain kind of way, and it's a triggering into a position where it's like a position of helplessness, and a position of almost self-destructiveness in the face of what is perceived as injustice. Now it said group in Mayor Dan Horgan. Let's see. Police Chief Miley told reporters Sunday. Well, my goodness. Pardon me. I apologize. I was going to start from the beginning. I won't miss words. The video you're about to watch is heartbreaking, Akron Mayor Dan Horgan said at a press conference about the fatal June 27 shooting. Speaking at a news conference alongside Mayor Dan Horgan, Miley also released disturbing body cam footage from the June 27 footage showing a group of police officers chasing, then firing at Walker, 25, who died at the scene. All 8 officers involved in the shooting are now on administrative leave, and the death is being investigated by the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation. So, the an upper tier of police are going to investigate these police, and of course, you I guess it's in the typical process, because if you're like myself, you seem to notice how things happen. In the same fashion, that they're repetitive. It's the same process over and over again. So, they you hear about it. People of eyewitnesses and eyewitness what happened and can tell you about it, but it takes a little while for the tape to come out. Then the tape comes out. It's generally a distinguished titled person in the police force, and maybe the city politician. They come out. They have a press conference, and I don't know whether in some cases I believe that the questions are already predetermined before they are put out there, and it's a somber moment. But okay, let me continue. And I won't miss words. The video you're about to watch is heartbreaking. This is the mayor speaking. The mayor, the mayor must set the scene. The mayor, we, just as a figure that must represent decency and represent the people. He must come out as seemingly compassionate, and understanding that something bad from someone's perspective happened, even if it may be a good thing or maybe the proper thing from someone else's perspective. But still, they say, I guess he goes from the fact that someone just died, the fact that someone died, period, is heartbreaking. Okay, Chief Milet also addressed Walker's family directly in an attempt to claim the calm, the tense atmosphere at the press conference. My fault. To calm the tense atmosphere in Akron, which has witnessed multiple demonstrations since the death of Walker was announced. I don't know if you watch any of my other videos, some not essentially any of them, but any particular one. I've said, and I still stand by the fact that I'm not a march and protest type of person, and that goes back to where I was saying that for me to watch one of these shootings or something like that on video, it triggers me in a way in which either it's helplessness or to the point of self-destructiveness. I guess they call it by conventional terms crash out, what the youngsters call crash out. And I know that at times where I feel as if something that I believe or might have strong belief in, determination to stand up for, and risk things that can be replaced, in the eyes of others who might be close to me, they may not see it in that fashion. For me not to be as specific as what I want to say. So, they've been having the protests, and in my mind, I really don't understand, I guess, if it was a situation where, okay, these people won't be tried, they're saying these guys won't be tried, and then by all looks of things, these guys won't be tried, because what they're saying is that, let me continue. You've asked for peace in an environment that is ripe for aggression and violence, Mayor Milet said Sunday. If Jayland reflects the character of this family, you've raised a good son. So what he did there was, if I guess the way that the family has presented themselves, because in order for you to feel as if I guess as a black person, or as a person or African American, black, Negro, or person underneath the system of this system of white supremacy, if you have a claim, because you really can't say that there is a court system that is ran majorly by people of color, or i.e. black people. So we pretty much are always going to be putting ourselves before the mercies of the system, and basically when we say put ourselves in front of the mercy of the court, The court is generally ran by a system that is dominated by those who are not people of color but are classified as white. And whether all those white people within that court system, whether they're practicing white supremacists or not, the system itself is designed. Whether you may believe it or not, I guess the evidence would tell you differently. That system is pretty much more protective. I'll just leave it. It's seemingly more protective of those who are over it, as opposed to those who have to come before it for its mercy or its serving of administration of justice. Okay, so I say LeBron James said something, but that's not important. Okay, now according to an APD release, Akron Police Department release, the fatal incident took place at approximately 12:30 a.m. on Monday, June 27, after officers attempted to stop a vehicle operated by Walker for an unspecified traffic violation. A chase then ensued, and officers reported that a firearm was discharged from the suspect's vehicle, the release added. Now, we don't know. I don't know. We don't know. I don't know. The paper don't say so, because the paper says so. People magazine says so. But and this, I guess maybe they have body cam footage or some of that nature. We don't necessarily know for certain whether or not a shot was fired. I guess if they recover a weapon and do a ballistic test on it, they'll be able to determine whether a shot was fired. Before I go any further, I'm going to pull forth the concept from the code book, where it says when you're encountered by a race soldier, and race soldiers are also alternate terms that victims of white supremacy refer to as police officers. When you're confronted by a race soldier, the code strictly says, it's the 3 F's. Don't fight, don't fuss, and don't flee. Now, if this shot came from Mr. Walker's car, I don't know whether Mr. Walker fired it or there was anyone else even in Mr. Walker's car, because I'm really not, I avoid these stories now because, like I say, they seem like they follow a formula. They get a video release, the press conference, the family gonna speak, Crump, somebody gonna pop up. The court, it may or may not be a criminal trial, and somebody may or may not be punished. Highly unlikely won't anybody be punished, and the family receives a financial settlement. So when I go back and say whether or not this shot was fired from the car, the first element of that concept, don't fight, has already been broken. Okay. A chase then ensues. A discharged firearm was discharged from the suspect vehicle. After several minutes, Walker slowed down and exited the moving vehicle, fleeing on foot. Now, that's basically the paper, the Good People magazine used the proper term without me even having to use it. Don't flee. Don't run. If you ain't done shit, then what's the purpose of running? And if you have done something, you caught. I guess you could take the chance. You was in the car. You got in the car. You decided to run on foot. Now, I haven't. I'm a law-abiding citizen now. But in my life and times, I've done illegal activities, and I know that and I have been pulled over dirty. I've been put the option to flee has been placed before me, and the option to you I guess strategically, an option let's say for example the police officers in the car. maybe like 200 or 300, 400 yards away, and I'm in the car, and I got like three and a half ounces of weed in the scale on me, and I could easily hop out the car and just like coming into it in the enclosement of a park or something. Like, okay, you one way in, one way out, but I'm on foot. I may be in somebody's car, but I'm on foot. I could easily hop out the car and just run and just run with my work. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess you know, I knew where I was. Let me stop. This is hypothetical, but yeah, I could have fled. But this was a situation that was not for Mr. Walker. It wasn't feasible for you to flee. For you to flee this, where was you going? The folks was on you. Don't fight. Don't flee. Now, I'm still going in there. I don't know whether when they first stopped him, whether they had any words, anything of that nature, because I don't think it says here in the paper, in the People magazine article. Okay. After several minutes, Walker slowed down and exited the moving vehicle, fleeing on foot into a nearby parking lot. The Akron Police Department continued, adding that officers said Walker's actions caused them to perceive that he posed a deadly threat to them. Now that's a real succinct way to take this for them officers to communicate, as they always and often do. Say, well, we fearful, the fearful people. We call I name them fearful because they fear for their life. The excuse comes that they fear for their life. These overly gun officers, from a fleeing man, they flee, they fear for their life. So yeah. Posed a deadly threat to them, and they opened fire. Walker was pronounced dead on the scene, the release added. Speaking to reporters Sunday, Chief Milet also stated the officers involved would now have to fully account for every second of their actions on the night in question. I mean, is that too much to ask? I thought that's what the officers are supposed to do along the course of doing their duty. If you have an incident, you have to file a report, and in that report you account for your actions. I mean, that's what I thought. When an officer makes the most critical decision in his or her life as a police officer, it doesn't matter where in the country this happens. When they make the most critical decision to point their firearm at another human being and pull the trigger, they got to be ready to explain why they did what they did, Mayor Milet said. They need to be able to articulate what specific threats they were facing, and that goes for every round that goes down the barrel of their gun. They said something like 60 rounds went on. So they're going to be 60 accounts for each bullet that was shot. So this has already been done before. I guess it was also positioned in the 16 shots in the cover-up situation in Chicago here. That once in certain situations, also think back in New York, who was that they shot? The immigrant guy, they shot him multiple times. I can't think, but y'all know who I'm talking about. I apologize for me not being succinct in regards to that. What they call it, basically what these officers call this thing when they go off into Ahmad Diallo and I forget the other guy, that Sean Bell, the guy shot in the car, the married guy that night. What they call this, these officers call this thing, what they do when they shoot, so when they get to shooting and they can't stop shooting, they got a thing that they call for it. So this is that's what's going to be their account for all, for each and every bullet that they shot. On Sunday, Bobby Cielo, lawyer for the Walker's family, so I guess they got a lawyer that I don't know what I guess he's not affiliated with old Ben Crump, or maybe Ben Crump's busy. that he'd never seen anything remotely close to the Akron video in his 22 years as a trial lawyer. DeCello added that reviewing the footage, he found no evidence that Walker, who had no criminal record, did anything to the officers that would put them in fear and require them to shoot. He added that the parking lot Walker ran to was large and vacant with no place to hide. Although a gun was found in the car, Walker was not carrying it at the time he was shot. And then that's the end of it. So we call the compensatory code concept that was written by Neely Fuller Jones. It's a method of doing things. A code is defined as a method of doing things that always works. Now, in this particular situation, now we understand. Okay, 60 shots, and they killed the guy. He was unarmed at the time in which they killed him. You know, that's something to make us. That's enough to make us angry, and it seems unfair. It seems that we're under extra scrutiny. And even today, they have this situation in Chicago where they bought the young man. I can't think of his name. Robert somebody, but he shot a whole bunch of his people in his neighborhood, and they brought him in safely, and they bring other white suspects in, of murder or crimes in. These people have actually committed crimes. They bring them in safely. But the thing about it is that their set of rules and their considerations under the society is much different than ours. So when you put forth the concept, don't fight, don't fuss, don't flee. When you come across a police officer, you think about it. For the most part, a large amount of I'm not going to say that all of our population, and that's just like with any population, the people are at 100% in shape. Now, when you come across a police officer pulls you over, even if it's just one of them, unless you're just a hellified stud or whatever, a martial artist of a woman, fighting with this officer, and for the most part, someone might be overweight, some might be out of shape. Fighting with this officer more than likely will end you up with an L. And you got to compare that to what you were pulled over for and what you have to deal with. If you'd have just sat still and took whatever, and just took whatever investigation arrest that would have happened, versus now you didn't try to fight a police officer. You probably got whooped up severely or killed because you chose to fight the police officer. So, just by running that through logical sense, logical reasoning and deduction, it doesn't seem very like a very intellectual or strategic move to just try to come out and fight the police if a race soldier pulls you over. The second is don't fuss. Now, a lot of us are really, I guess once upon a time, in my younger days, and I don't want to put it, because a lot of this stuff came from like the woman, the female section of my family and associates, where we get in a situation where it might be something where it's not going our way. We get to the point where we want to tell somebody off. You want to cut somebody out, like, because that's going to solve the problem. You're going to put them in check with our words. Yeah, you could fuss, now in the situation police, you could say, well, what you pulled me over for, pig, blah, skippy, you always fuck me, blah, blah, blah. You can fuss with the police officer all you want to. Thing about it is, in these situations underneath their system, and just underneath the social, well, so that's the community aspect of it, or whatever. You pulled over by a police officer. You at the whim, the unfortunate whim, whether you want to believe it or not, you're under the unfortunate whim of that arresting officer. So you could either like keep it cool, whatever, say yes, officer. Uh, you know, you ain't gotta ask him what he pulled you over for. He gonna tell you, and whether you agree with it or not, and how you well, it's not necessarily whether you agree with it or not. How you respond in your disagreement may pretty much dictate how the situation may end up. So don't fight, don't fuss, don't flee. Don't flee comes in a situation where you might have looked at the circumstances. Well, damn, that's a police. I ain't and I'm not built to scrap with this police, and I ain't necessarily got no words of defense, and I don't need to be wasting my breath going back and forth with him. So hey, I'm booking. I'm gonna book. So in the process, in the situation, when it comes down to running off, because we've heard in these stories many times what happens when we choose to try to run off. We get bullets in our back, and I remember back when I was a little boy, and I may be dating myself in the cowboy movies. I thought that it was a cowardly thing to shoot someone in the back. But I guess, movies are movies and reality is reality. So, like in the situation where you decide, well, I'm just going to run, and you may, I guess it depends on what environment you are in. If you're in your environment and, all the back alleyways, and you cut through here, cut through there, on foot, and where to duck and dodge and hide, you may get away with fleeing at that point. But as we know, in some circumstances, like in this situation with Mr. Jayland Walker, you in a vacant parking lot, bro. You see all this parking lot. I mean, I guess, and I'm just speaking from, and I guess I got to be careful reading the media like the People magazine, blah blah blah. But if you're in a vacant parking lot, and I don't know whether the dude was an athlete or nothing like that, you done got out the car. Where you running to? If you done got to a situation, you say, fuck it, they got me, man. I'm just gonna lay down on this fucking concrete. And he's 25. They say your brain's not fully developed until you're 25. And a young man, he's 25. So maybe he wasn't thinking strategically. Maybe he didn't have the foresight to think like that. But that brings me to the point here. I know the handful of people that may watch this video. Some of y'all might have children, and some of you might not have an understanding of what I'm telling. Might have had an understanding of what I'm telling you now. You might think that don't fight, don't fuss, don't flee. I ain't no punk bitch coward. I'm gonna handle it how I'm gonna handle it, and that's your prerogative. But I believe, I feel, I feel as if that this particular codified, if Mr. Walker would have followed this codified method, this concept of the code, don't fight, don't fuss, don't flee, he probably would be alive today. Now you may agree or disagree with it. I don't believe that and I'm not necessarily being a vanguard to say that that these race soldiers, these police officers were right in discharging all them bullets into them. All I'm saying is that, and they're gonna make it sound like I'm putting the man's death on him. I ain't gonna put it all on him, but I'm gonna definitely, you're being dishonest with yourself. You don't say that he contributed to it. Now the bullets had to come from somewhere. That's their contribution. But the choices and decisions, the choice and decision that he made, that Mr. Walker made at the last minute, man, that cost him his life, and that's just the truth about it. So with that being said, man, I've been on here for a little while. I didn't really mean to go this long. I kind of wanted to keep it short. Don't fight, don't fuss, don't flee. That's what I practice now. Yeah, I'm when I get pulled over, I think I got pulled. I ain't really got pulled. I got pulled over for speeding coming from Georgia, from seeing my sister. You know, I put my hands on a motherfucking steering wheel, and I really didn't have to cut the top light on. They tell you cut the cut the type light on, put your hands on the steering wheel. Yes, officer, blah blah blah, whoosy skippy. You know, the the gentleman, I was about to say redneck P Wood. The officer, he was very gracious with the nigga boy. You know, with Flav. He left. You know, he said. I gave my spiel. You know, I was trying to keep up with traffic. He said, "Sir, you was going like 100." No, I think he said 90 or something like 95. You know, past me and with no cars for me. I said, "All right, man. I'm just trying to leave my sister. I got to go back to work." Blah blah blah. You know, I ran it like that. And the motherfucker gave me a warning, and I went home. And I got back to Chicago. Blah blah blah. But man, it's sad. It's another sad story, Mr. Jayland Walker. And I mean, y'all, and I see folks they argue back and forth with these suspected white supremacists online. You know, like y'all gonna hold court on Twitter with these folks. I don't know why y'all had discussions back and forth with these folks. Why y'all want to talk about reparations with commoners? You know, the only reparations gonna come from the system, gonna come from the government. None of them people that you going back and forth with for 4, 5, 6 hours or maybe even days in them comment sections gonna pay you a dime directly out their pocket. It's gonna come out their taxes just like everything else comes that America, or every other debt that America has, or every other expense that America pays comes from out of the taxpayers' pockets. But I'm going off on a tangent on something else. I really hope that you came through, and I hope that you enjoyed this content. And if you did, you know exactly what to do. I don't need to tell you what you do. Do whatever else you do with all the content that you like. Click this or do that, you know, to whatever you got. So that being said, this is your guy, Flav Niger, of the Najar in the room. Peace and love to y'all, man.